Hello and welcome to 7 Must-Know Marriage Words in German Genealogy. My name is Catherine Schober. I am a German to English genealogy translator and educator and the owner of Germanology Unlocked. If you haven't watched our 7 Must-Know Birth Words in German Genealogy video, feel free to go back and watch that. But for now, let's go ahead and jump right into those marriage words. One of the most important words you'll see on marriage records is ledig. That word means unmarried or single. So you'll usually see this before a groom, a future groom, or a future bride's name. And how does that word look like in the old German script? So on these records, you'll likely see all of these words written in the old German handwriting. So what does ledig look like? Just like that. We have our L, our E, and on the birth record video, I talked about how this E kind of looks like our cursive N. The letter D, an I, which should be dotted above, and the letter G, ledig. Another important word you'll see on marriage records is the word Ehe. That word means marriage. And this is a nice short word, luckily. So if you see a word that looks like that, that's going to be your Ehe. So this E, the E is always very fancy and it goes below the line of writing, the capital E that is. And then we have our H. And if you watch the birth record video, I talked about how the H has a loop above the line of writing and a loop below the line of writing. And then the letter E, Ehe. Now, a lot of people get the words Ehe and Hochzeit a little bit confused, but Ehe is the actual marriage itself, whereas Hochzeit means wedding. And it actually translates to high, Hochzeit, time. So high time, wedding is a high time. And what does Hochzeit look like in the old German script? That's a long one. So we have our capital H, O, C with our H above and below the line. It's crazy Z, our E like, our N like E, our I with our dot, and then across T, Hochzeit. Now, another word you might see in place of Hochzeit is the word Trauung. This word means a wedding ceremony. So you'll see this on a lot of marriage records as well. So the Trauung took place at a certain time. What does this word look like in the script? Luckily, it has 2 U's in a row. So if you watch that birth record video, you'll remember I talked about the U's having these little swoops above them. So we have our capital T, our R, and I also mentioned in that video, the R looks like a bucket. And you can fill up that R with whatever you want to. I would choose chocolate, I think. We have A, our U with the swoop above it, our second U with the swoop above it. And the swoop is my non-professional term. It's actually called a U-bogen, which translates as the U arch, but I like swoop. And the letter G, Trauung, wedding ceremony. Bräutigam. Now, this is someone who's important in a marriage. Any guesses who that might be? That would be the groom. So like I said, you might see the word ledig before the groom's name, saying that before the marriage, he is unmarried and free to marry. And this is also a longer word, but it's semi-easy to recognize because you have an umlaut and a swoop of the U right next to each other. So maybe if you see those 2 things, that might be a good clue that it could be the word Bräutigam. So we have our capital B, our bucket-looking R, our A with the umlaut above it. And again, in the birth record video, I talked about how 3 German vowels can have an umlaut above it, and that's an A, O, and U. And then we have our U with our swoop, a T, an I, a G, A, and M. And an M will have 4 points at the bottom. So it'll have 1, 2, 3, 4 points at the bottom, whereas an N will have 3. So that's what I teach in my German handwriting class. The N has 3 points at the bottom and the M has 4. That's one way to differentiate the 2 of them. Braut. So if we just talked about the Bräutigam, meaning groom, who do you think this is? That's our, I didn't translate it into English. Can you do it yourself? That is our bride. That should read bride there. My brain was just thinking in German. So what does it look like? Hopefully I put this one in German. Yep. All right, this is our B, our bucket looking R, A. Do you know what this letter is? The U with the swoop, and our T, Braut. And just as a reminder, since I didn't write that in English, that word means bride, the groom and the bride. Now, geheiratet, what do a bride and groom do in a church? They get married. So the word geheiratet means to get married. There's another word, verheiratet, with a V-E-R before the heiratet part. That word means to be married. So you might see that word as an adjective describing someone's status. But this word, geheiratet, means to get married, the action of getting married. And that word looks like this in the Old German script. We have our G, our E that kind of looks like an N, our H with the loop above the line and below the line, E, I, R, A, T, E, T. And sometimes as you get into more old-fashioned documents, you might see an extra H right here. So right in between that T and the E. That's just a more old-fashioned spelling, that extra H. It doesn't change the meaning, just an old-fashioned spelling. So if you want to learn more, go to my website, Germanologyunlocked.com. Let's go back here. I also have a free PDF available for download of German church record vocabulary. So it's a big sheet of 3 columns with the German word, its English translation, and how that word looks in the handwriting of the most important words you will find in German church records. And you can get that by signing up for the newsletter at the link below. I hope you'll come back for our video on death record vocabulary. And in the meantime, good luck with your research.